So now, please welcome the official, non-official, non-sponsor of the Savannah Bananas, but a big fan. Please welcome John Fletcher.
Well, thank you, my friend Jesse Cole, owner of the Savannah Bananas, and welcome to this edition of 15 on Fridays with Fletch. Well, the watchdog is in the house, and he's been watching over you for the past 33 years. You've read his columns most recently for the past 13 years in the Dallas Morning News and 20 years in the Star-Telegram. If you've got a beef with your utility company or auto repair shop, or you want to learn how to be a smarter consumer, Dave Lieber, the watchdog, is your best friend and your best resource. He's authored 10 books, with his latest being Dandy Don Meredith, the First Dallas Cowboy. His big news today is that the one-man play that he wrote called Amon, the Ultimate Texan, starts a 4-show run at the Arlington Theater today, Friday. The play documents how Amon Carter, who started the first TV station in Texas, what is now Channel 5 KXAS, also known as NBC5, and he also owns WBAP Radio and the Star-Telegram, and he was a major force across Texas. So let's find out now how Dave Lieber has always admired Amon Carter, but he writes for the Dallas Morning News. So Dave, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Fletch.
Hey, let's not bury the lead. How do you balance your admiration of Amon Carter while writing for the Dallas Morning News?
Well, that's really good to bring that up, because that is kind of a conundrum for me. But here's what happens when you're on vacation. You've been at the Star-Telegram for 20 years. You're on vacation. They call you in and they sit you down at a table and they give you a manila envelope. Now, you work for yourself. You don't have a boss. So I don't know if you know what that manila envelope means, but
I think I'm afraid I know.
It's the forced resignation envelope. I didn't do anything wrong. They just got rid of the entire staff back then. And the Dallas Morning News had a job called the problem solver, and she quit. So I slid in there and I told them I don't want to be the problem solver. I'm the watchdog. And that's what I've been for the last 20 years.
You've authored 10 books. So what led you to write about this publishing and public servant legend?
Well, when I was at the paper at the Star-Telegram for those 20 years, I felt the ghost of Amon Carter in the building. There were things going on there that didn't make any sense. And when I would ask why, they'd say, because that's the way Mr. Carter did it. And he'd been dead for like 60 years by the time I got there, or something like that. And so I just began to notice him everywhere in the ghost. And I realized that I could turn his life story into a play. I'd never written a play, but I thought this could work. And I was told it won't work because his daughter, Ruth, won't permit any theater to put a play on. And well, she passed away and I brought the play out, and we're just about to have our number 70 through 74 performances. So we've performed 70 times since 2019.
Well, and until I saw your play a few years ago, I had no idea that Amon Carter was Mr. West Texas. Obviously, I knew that he was instrumental in supporting TCU, thus Amon G. Carter Stadium, but I didn't know that he helped start Texas Tech in Lubbock.
Yeah, he insisted upon it. In fact, he was the first chairman of the board. He was the first recipient of the honorary doctorate degree. And the soap suds statue that's outside the Will Rogers Memorial in Fort Worth is also out there at Tech. And most people that went to Texas Tech, they don't know Amon Carter's role. I mean, there's Amon Carter Plaza. They just don't know who this guy is and what he did. And it's really amazing. You know, I've never found a Texas Tech graduate who could tell me the story of Amon Carter.
Kelvin Dilks, who portrays Amon Carter, was a fabulous choice. How did you discover him?
He was a fabulous choice. It's one of the great acting performances I've ever seen. And he was chosen by Rick Blair, who ran the Artisan Center Theater, which is now closed. But so Rick Blair gets the credit for putting Kelvin and Connie Sanchez, the director, together. And they're like they've known each other and worked together on theater for years, and they have a great rapport with each other. They trust each other, and they did this pretty much by themselves. Then they invited me in to see the dress rehearsal, and that was the first time I saw the play. I just let them run with it, and they did such an amazing job. On one performance, I counted 127 laugh lines.
Oh yeah,
I didn't write a comedy, but Kelvin turns it into a true to life comedy.
Well, there's so many great stories in there. And, you know, you've got this wonderful quote that Amon Carter really is our Alexander Hamilton. He's our consequential figure that we've forgotten who he was and what he did for us. So tell us about his influence.
Well, I guess the best way to do it is to show the things that are named after him, because it's so varied. One thing I noticed, though, is there's no statue of Amon Carter anywhere in Fort Worth. It's kind of amazing that that didn't happen. But there's the Amon Carter Museum of American Art, which everybody knows. There's Amon Carter Stadium at TCU. There's Amon Carter Plaza at Texas Tech, Amon Carter Boulevard in Fort Worth, Carter Blood Care, Carter Peak at Big Bend, the main auditorium at Texas A&M School of Law, Amon Carter Riverside High School, Amon G. Carter Lake in Bowie, Amon Carter Airport, Amon Carter Terminal at Meacham, and Amon Carter Foundation. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to have your name on. That shows right off the bat really what this guy, how he had his finger in everything.
Oh, absolutely. Now, your performances will be Friday night tonight, also
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon and evening, and Sunday afternoon. How do
Right.
we buy tickets to the play?
Well, you go to the box office at the Theater Arlington, or you go to my website, which is amonplay.com, which links to the box office. And those are the two ways to get the tickets. And they're selling pretty well, better than they have in other cities.
Oh, that's
know.
great. And how do we order a copy of your book?
Well, I have a website for the book and the play, and it's amonplay.com. And I'd ask people if you're going to order it, and I'd be honored if you would, to please not buy it through Amazon, because this is a picture of Jeff Bezos' $1 billion yacht. And I think he's got enough money, and I think it's time to pay the authors and opposed to Jeff Bezos, So go to amonplay.com.
So Arlington is going to be the 11th city you've performed in. What's your next step?
Well, I can't really say because I haven't signed the contract yet, but it's going to be so big that it's going to be like huge when we say where this is. I'll give you a clue though. It's the one place that Amon Carter wouldn't want us to put our play on.
Oh, I think I know where that is. So now tell me about the aha moment that led you to become the voice of the consumer as the watchdog.
Well, back in 2005, when they created the Watchdog at the Star Telegram, the thinking was we didn't need any more opinion columnists. The world was full of blogs with full of opinions, and they said what we need is an intrepid reporter who will go out and help people and expose things and make the world a better place. And so the timing was good. They didn't really want me as a Metro opinion columnist. They wanted me as a digger. So that's how it came about.
Well, and so tell us a couple of tips that you would give to us as consumers. We've got about, say, 5 minutes left. Tell us maybe a couple of fun stories, and then also some tips that we need to be doing.
Well, the number one tip, of course, in my Watchdog Nation, which is a consumer rights movement that I call it, is you need to always search before you buy. You need to look things up before you hire someone to come to your house. You need to find out what their flaws are, what people say about them. And if you don't search, you're really hurting yourself, because you'll find out later some bad stuff happened on the job, and you'll go search and you'll find it and you'll go, wow, I wish I would have known this before I hired this numbnut. So that's really important. I can't express that enough. Now, Google has changed search with AI. So you really have to kind of power down the page. You can't just go with the first page. You just have to keep scrolling until you can find it. And you need to type in the word fraud, and like Joe Blow roofing fraud, Joe Blow plumbing fraud, complaints, whatever. Then the second piece of advice is that I think the data breaches that we've all suffered are coming home to roost, because people are getting calls now allegedly from their bank or Amazon. And the people who are calling, they know your social security number, they know your phone number, they know your address, they know the name of your spouse, because they've got all this in a data breach. So we're starting to see these data breaches impacting people, and they're losing money, because they're not realizing that these are fake calls, that people just bought their data. So that's happening now, especially with banks.
Well, tell me this: if you go, let's go back to the play for a moment. If
Yeah.
Amon Carter was here today in 2026, tell me a couple of things that he might tell us.
Well, first off, he would have figured out how to use the internet, pretty quickly. The Star Telegram was the second internet company in the country back when they started with email and websites and all that. So that was part of his. Even though he was gone, they were still going and doing things before anybody else, which is his style. Well, he would say the same thing he's always said, which is a man must live with his society, not off it. He was a philanthropist, and he insisted that everybody else be one too. And if you wonder why Fort Worth is the way it is, it's because of Amon Carter. And one of the things is that he taught generations how to give. A man must live off with his community, not off it. You know?
So tell us if there were two or three one-liners for us to be looking for in the play. Give us a couple of hints that are some of the showstoppers.
Well, if you're from Dallas and he says, anybody here from Dallas, and you raise your hand, he's going to pick on you. You know, and so I would recommend anybody from Dallas just keep their hands in their laps, because even though he picks on you, it's nice and all, but it's funny as all heck. But I feel sorry for the person. They do get a free book at the end though, and everybody applauds. That's something that Kelvin came up with.
That's great. So any other one-liner that he was best known for? Obviously, he would take a sack lunch and a Coke with him for any meetings in Dallas because he didn't want to spend a dime in that city.
Right. He would carry a can of gasoline. He would not take a shave in Dallas. And when he would go to a banquet, he would tell everybody, "I'm not eating your food. I brought my own food from Fort Worth, and you should too." You know. So another line, of course, that I wrote this line. And it's a sad line. And I told Kelvin, I said, "This is for me. This is sad." I said, the line goes, all the things that the newspaper did to help people. And then he says, "I hope it never changes for the newspapers." And of course, back then, they were the #1 circulating paper in Texas. They served an area the size of New England. They dropped bales of papers over ranches out of an airplane. And here we are today, you know, where the newspaper business is a dying industry. And so he says, "I hope it never changes for the newspapers." And
That's incredible. They used airplanes to drop the papers down to the outlying communities, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it went all the way to New Mexico. Their circulation, so they couldn't get there by truck. So they had a plane, and that plane's on display in downtown Fort Worth in the old Star Telegram building. And they would just dump the bale out on the ranch, and then all the ranchers would come and get their copies every day.
That's incredible. Well, Dave, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us for 15 on Fridays with Fletch. Looking forward to the play tonight, and also looking forward to having you back again to talk about whatever your next, well, of course, your next book, or we'll talk about Dandy Don as the first Dallas Cowboy.
Thanks
for having us.
Appreciate you.